I'm going to tell you a story that changed my perspective on failure forever. It's about my first business venture and how its failure turned out to be one of the greatest things that ever happened to me. It all started when my best friend Chris and I were 18 years old. We had been starting businesses since we met in the third grade, and we were turning 18. We were seniors in high school, and we realized it's no longer cute to have just our childhood businesses. We got to start something that's real if we ever want to be these businessmen that we've dreamed of being. And so we had been thinking for weeks, what business could we start? What are we good at? All these things. And it just so happened that Chris was in culinary one at the time, and he had made a few good cakes. He had gotten an A in the class. And so he had become pretty much an amateur chef. He was pretty good at this time. And he came to me and he said, let's make a peanut company. He said, we can package them easily. I know how to make them. And so I said, not a bad plan. So Chris and I went home from school after he told me that, and we had searched the internet for all these peanut recipes, and we settled on honey roasted peanuts. We had found a recipe. We tweaked it to make our own, and it seemed like a good plan. It was feasible. So we broke down all the expenses, came up with a rough business plan all in one night. We were dead set on making this a reality. And it just so happened that it was Monday night. And so our farmers market locally is open on Tuesdays. So we knew we could go find some blanched or plain peanuts that we could then make into our honey roasted peanuts. And so we planned that whole Monday night, and then all day in school that Tuesday, all we were thinking about was getting to that farmer's market. The school day ends on that Tuesday, and we run to my car. We get in, we head straight over to the farmer's market, and we start taking a look at the selections they had. And we settled on one of the stands there. They had blanched peanuts, which, if you don't know what blanched peanuts are, they're pretty much just white raw peanuts. And so we bought a few pounds of those. I think we bought 2 pounds of them. And we went home and we started making half-pound batches. So we made 4 batches. And of course, we didn't tell my parents what we were doing. So they were a little surprised when they came home from work and we had aprons on and we were making stuff in their kitchen. But they were pretty good with their business schemes. They always allowed us to be pretty free, even when it impeded their life. Like they couldn't make dinner that night. So we make our batches and they turn out pretty good. And so after we tweaked it that night, we realized we might have something here. We might have some potential here. So now that we have our recipe down, we've already made our peanuts. I realized we need to make this a legal company. So I went out, I figured out how to make a fictitious name, how to set up an LLC, stuff like that. And we ended up doing that. And so in 2 weeks, our stuff came back and we were ready, and we reached out to the health department, got everything set up, and we were officially a legal peanut company. So after we got everything set up, we had a legal peanut company. We sit down, have a meeting, and we say we're going to cook 2 pounds of peanuts each week, and we're going to break them down. One of the pounds we're going to sell as 2-ounce bags. So we're going to break it down into, I believe it was 8 2-ounce bags. And then the other ones we were going to sell as half pounds. So we're going to have 2 half-pound bags that we could sell. And so I took them into school, and I was on the track team at the time. I sold them to all the people doing track and the coaches. And then Chris was handling all the teachers and stuff that he knew in the school. And it worked out pretty well. We were racking up sales. I think our first 2 weeks, we had about $300 in gross revenue, which was pretty good for us. Now that we had at least some track record of success with these peanuts, people liked them enough where they were coming back to us, and we had started selling the half-pound bags, which is a good thing. We decided, how can we get more press? How can we get out there further? So we came up with the idea of donating to a different charity each month. And in order to do this, it was going to be a percentage of the profit for each charity. So that way, figured we could reach out to the local newspapers, and with our small town, we could hopefully grow the company decently. And by this time it was summer, and so I had some more free time, and I had messed around with Excel before. So I came up with this. I spent about 2 days working on this crazy Excel sheet that you just type in, you sold 2 ounces of peanuts, and it would automatically cross-reference the other pages. There was about 13 pages, and it would break down our profit, our costs, and how much we had to donate to the different charities we had. And so we built out this whole thing, and we were just getting it ready to roll out. And we realized I got accepted to a different university than my best friend did. And so this was not great. How are we going to cook peanuts in a college dorm, let alone when we're about 2 hours away from each other? Just wasn't going to work. So we decided we were going to stick it out to the end of the summer, and then we were going to put the company on hold. And so when it was all said and done, we profited around, I think it was $400 profit, and we never ended up getting the charity thing rolled out. So when it was all said and done, we had paid hundreds of dollars to set up this company. We had made some money. We had sunk all the time and effort into it. I had built some crazy 13-page Excel sheet that all cross-referenced each other, and in total it was about 48 hours of work. And all this only to have a failed company and have our first venture not be successful. And as the summer came to an end and we both went off to our separate colleges, I remember sitting there thinking, man, if this is how business is, I might not be good at it. I mean, our first one we fail at. I spent all this time when I could have been working on at a normal job and making money. And instead I was working at this, and I made, I think it was like $200 was my share of the profit after months of work. And that doesn't sound like a very great path to go for your future. So I was racking my brain with this, and it got put on the back burner. And then I graduate from college, and I get into finance, entry-level finance, and I start needing to use Excel sheets. And I realize I know these Excel sheets pretty well, and I could sell these financial products because I could analyze my clients' finances better than most people in my offices, and I could suggest the right products for them pretty easily. I could set up an Excel sheet for them, and it would tell me yes or no pretty much. And I wouldn't have known how to do all those functions, that it was even possible, if I wouldn't have had this company. So I thought that's an interesting thing. My failure allowed me to be the top sales rep for 11 of the 12 months I was at this finance company. And a big part of it was from this failed business venture. And so that got put on the back of my brain as well. And so I'm thinking about it. And as I'm sitting in a cubicle every day, selling financial products, talking to hundreds of people on the phone every day, I'm not enjoying my life very much. And so I'm thinking, how can I get out of this? And so I look at some of the skills I've had, and I realize Excel is a pretty big thing. I've known a little bit about real estate from research. And so I jump into real estate. And because of this peanut company we had started, I knew how to set up an LLC, knew how to get a fictitious name. I knew how to do marketing. I knew basic stuff that allowed me to have a head start. So what we learned from this failure, we learned how to use Excel proficiently. We learned sales skills. We learned how to set up an LLC and start a business, how to market, learned all those things. And little did I know that in my future, I'd use those skills to become the #1 salesperson across 3 separate companies in the same industry. I learned how to start my own business when I went into real estate, which allowed me to help multiple people grow 7, 8-figure portfolios. And most importantly, I learned that failure can be a good thing. Don't be afraid of failing, because failing can only help you in the future. Take my advice, try hard, fail even harder, and eventually you'll succeed. If you like the video, subscribe, like it, and I want you to comment down below one thing that's been a great failure for you in your life. Until next time, guys, let's get big.